Yeah. Quinn on the mic, I'ma lace it with truth. Phillip in the back, calling plays from the booth. Podcast vibes, broadcasting the word. Sharper than the two-edged sword. Every verse heard on my arm strap. Shield tight like a glove. Faith in my veins, powered by God's love. Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Belt of truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise. Yeah, shoes fitted tight, spreading peace while I step. I run this race with Jesus, no regret. You feel the heat, that's the fire of the spirit. Voices in the dark, but I don't even hear it. Face my defense, prayer's my offense. Victory in Jesus, yeah, it's immense.
Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics, episode 39, titled Here Today, Changed Tomorrow. My name is Matt Quinn, joined as always by Phillip Leviner.
What's up, Matt? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Had a busy weekend. We had our last dance recital with Academy of Movement 2 out of Bennettsville. Been a wild 3 years with them. It was an emotional night. And I don't think people truly understand the coaching profession and what goes on behind the scenes with the family life. It was a tough night. You know, Maddie was upset. That's her last competition or recital with her friends that she's had for 3 years dancing in that studio. And it was emotional for me. You know, I went through the ups and downs of being proud of her and being sad. And I think that needs to be talked about more. That's not tonight's episode, but I think the background, whether you like a coach or don't like a coach and they fire a coach or a coach gets a promotion or all these different things, we don't typically think about the fallout with the family, right? We're so quick to jump on social media and say, we should fire this coach. We should fire this coach. And okay, on the field performance, I get it. And that's part of the profession. But we don't take into account that those kids are going to be changing schools. The wife is going to be looking for new friends and, you know, all those things that come into place when somebody gets promotion or gets hired somewhere else. We don't think about those things in the outside world. So I think that's something that we need to be more aware of and be more sympathetic to. Not saying we give somebody a pass because they are a bad football coach because they got family. I get it. That's part of the profession. We know that going into it. But we should be a little more sympathetic to the families and people that are behind the scenes supporting me and supporting all these other great coaches across the country.
Well, I think you got to remember they're people too, right?
Yeah.
I think we sometimes often forget the humanity side of it. Mm-hmm. That you guys have families, you have, you know, investments in this. I mean, it's not easy for you guys to pack up and move somewhere, and you're taking a risk every time you do it. It's a gamble, so to speak. You don't know how the season is going to play out. You don't know obviously you don't know how the schools are going to play out, right? You didn't expect that. So obviously there's a humanity side that we have to remember for you guys and for anybody for that sake, and understand, and we'll get into a little bit some more, but you're accountable for your words and your actions, and people say things in the heat of the moment that you don't think at the time can be hurtful or harmful down the road, where if we'd have just thought about that a little bit longer, maybe we could understand the situation a little better. Kind of going to tie into what we're about to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Slow to speak, right? Slow to speak. I've learned that you got to take some time before you answer that email. I mean, that's the biggest lesson that I can tell you, man. But just remember, man, I say this: love and respect. Whether you're mad at somebody or not, you got to respect the situation because you don't know what's going on their side of the fence. So, it's going to be a good topic tonight. I think it's going to hit, some people. And look, we're not trying to hurt your feelings, but I think we're at a point where we feel like some of this stuff needs to be talked about, man. And maybe it helps somebody. Like I said, one person, right? That's what we're
Yep.
trying to reach. So
Yep. Episode 39. We'll start out with some jersey numbers. Phillip.
I got a list of them, man. You know, I was looking at this list. It's a crazy list. For me, being the baseball guy, it was Roy Campanella and Mike Greenwell. You know, Campanella, the old Hall of Fame catcher for the Dodgers, retired number 39. So I like that, it being baseball season. And so I went with old Roy.
I like it. The two that we had mentioned, before we got on and started recording, that I kind of liked because they're obscure, they're random. For 39 was Minka Fitzpatrick, briefly with the Pittsburgh Steelers, wore 39, and then Dwight Howard when he came to the Los Angeles Lakers, wore number 39. So those are I like obscure numbers sometimes, like when we threw 37 for Deion Sanders, like just random numbers that people had to put
Yeah.
on or wear when they went somewhere else. So those are my two,
Old,
Minka and Dwight Howard.
old Larry Zonka. He was a 39er. Uh, when didn't he play linebacker?
Yeah.
Was Zonka a linebacker? He was before my time, but I have seen some film when he played for the Dolphins, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he played for the Dolphins. Yeah.
Episode
I remember his name.
39, here today, changed tomorrow. With some of the recent events going on in the Sherrall community, Phillip felt that this title would be something that could be useful for some people. So I'll let him explain a little bit where this came from and how it came about.
Well, as everybody knows, and tragedy strikes a lot of places, man. Chesterfield County has been the recipient of it here this year. We've had 4 young people shot in Chesterfield County and killed this year. And to me, living here my whole life, that's the most I've ever seen. The violence has gotten out of hand. And this past week, we were very unfortunate to lose a good member of our community, Mr. Landon Sellers. Was a member of the baseball team at Sherrall, very good kid, young kid, 20 years old. Life was cut short. And we talk about here today, change tomorrow. And that's exactly what's happened for this community, for his family, for his parents. He was here today and he's not tomorrow, and it's changed everything. It's changed everything for his mom and dad. It's changed everything for this community. Last night Sherrall was able to secure the district championship in baseball, and number 5 is painted on the field and is circled. And it was a little bit of healing for us as a community. Sports does give that healing. That's what I love about it. But at the same time, we're all sitting there just still, why did this have to happen? That's the first question we always go to, right? We want to ask God why. We want to ask anybody why. And we don't know why. Jeremiah 29:11 said there's a plan for all of us, dude. And we got to believe that that's the deal that God made with us. And however short and brief his life was, I'm going to tell you what, man, the kid made a great impact. He impacted so many people. And I want to stay as positive as I can in this situation. Landon, we had an 834-day snap streak. Every day. It wasn't much. It was just a little photo, little like love you kid type deal. And it was special between me and him. I didn't hang out with him a lot. Obviously, he was a lot younger. We got to experience some turkey shoots together, and he was friends with my son and really good friends with, Tim McCune's son, Landon McCune. I'm really close to that family. And, it's just everybody's affected by it, man. I just thought it was a good time to kind of talk about decision making, action having consequences, slow to violence, slow to speak, anything you want to put in there. But the biggest thing I want to give a shout to is his family. Love there for them. Wrap your arms around them, Lord. Be with them. I can't imagine it. I can't. But so sad for our community. Such a big personality, a big heart, gone way too soon.
Yeah, Phillip. Shout out to the Sherrall community and especially the baseball team for rallying around this and competing, fighting, battling. I thought it was we say that it's a coincidence, but it's really not. District 5 champions, by the way, and Landon War number 5. I thought that was very, very cool. And then obviously you mentioned this, that it happened in May, the 5th month. So there's a lot of fives. We've talked about some numbers and significance of numbers, but when these coincidences start happening in our lives, and you say, all right, Landon War number 5, they won the District 5 championship in May. There's a lot of fives there that I don't think is a coincidence, Phillip.
No, and again, we talk about God and his plan and his omnipotence and things like that. And it's so easy in these moments to question him. So easy to question him. I've done it. I've sit here in this room and done it. And you know, we don't know why. We can only hope that in tragedy that we find some kind of triumph, that we find some kind of lesson in this, because it's happened and we can't bring him back. God, I wish we could, man. I'm gonna cry on this episode. I know I am. But we've got to learn from this, man. We got to learn from this. We've got to be better than this as a humanity, as people. Whatever the circumstances come out surrounding this incident, and it's still an investigation. I get all that. You know, we have to understand one thing that effective decision making for youth involves teaching them to pause, identify the problem, brainstorm options, evaluate consequences, and reflect on outcomes. Hard to do at that age, right? I remember being young and just, did I think of outcomes when I made decisions? No, no. If I would have, I wouldn't have gotten half the stuff I got in. But I do hope that within tragedy, that again, that we can find some kind of long-term lesson here, and maybe we can stop some of this stuff from happening. Another saying that I live by, Ray Lewis said it best, and people can take this. I'm not talking about Landon in particular, but you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I think you said it best. If you hang out with knuckleheads, you become a knucklehead, right? You have to be better in those situations. You have to rise above those situations. And I said on my video this week, it's hard to put God first. It's hard to talk about God. It's hard to say you're making a stand for God, especially at a young age, right? It's not cool. It's not trendy. It's not trending on TikTok, so nobody wants to do it. But I promise you, like I told my son this morning, you put God first in your life. Are you going to make mistakes? Sure. But I promise you things will change for you in a positive direction. I get that you're going to make mistakes. I get you're going to be a kid. I get you're going to, have moments. I do too. But I can tell you in the last 15 months that I've been serving God, my life has gotten a lot better. I've been slow to speak, slow to anger. I've handled things better. I've paused when I've needed to pause. That's not Phillip, Matt. That's God. Phillip didn't think like that. Phillip was quick to anger, quick to cuss, quick to get rowdy, And I pray for this community, man. And I pray that through this, maybe some souls are saved. Maybe God can enter somebody's heart, and maybe they can reflect on this, and we do save some souls through this. And if we can get that, I'll never say it's worth it, because it's not worth losing a life over. I can't get there yet. Senseless tragedy, but we got to find some type of good in this. And last night was beautiful, Matt. It was beautiful. It went 9 innings. The community was out. The stands were packed. You felt it. You felt it in the crowd. And we just, I don't want to say, that God picks a side, but I believe last night he was a Braves fan, man. I do.
Yeah, 9 innings, right? And I saw that there was a walk-off hit there in the 9th, right?
Crawford pulled, bases loaded, 2 outs, drills one into the gap. It was beautiful. Nick Gordon had a heck of a game. He went 5 for 6 with a home run. Crawford was 4 for 5 with a home run and a walk-off double. The boys played well. I mean, few errors in the field, both teams. Questionable calls, which you can always have those. But at the end of the day, 2 great teams, great game, great competition. Tip of the cap to Academic Magnet, man. We played them twice. Both games were one run wins. So, these games could have went either way. They have a great program. Got a chance to talk to their athletic director for a long time last night. First thing he kind of says, like, "Hey man, we're praying for y'all. We very unfortunate what happened." And me and him got to sitting there talking about Jesus and talking about the games and uh, just two competitors. Obviously, we both wanted our teams to win, but had a great conversation. Again, a lot of respect for that program. I hate it for them, but I think they're headed in the right direction with their leadership they have.
That is awesome. You mentioned it there a little bit, Phillip. Episode 39 and what it's about, but it's really about decisions, man. Because as we've just witnessed and we've seen, especially my age and your age, Phillip, we've seen this a lot more than our young people. Life can change fast. One choice, one reaction, one moment, and suddenly you're not where you used to be. You're not who you used to be. And some decisions like build and define your future, right?
Yeah, and again, we go back to the proper effective decision making. I tell my kids all the time this: every choice and action have a consequence. Those consequences can be good or bad based on the choice you make. And I didn't understand that for the longest time. Like, you're in the moment, whatever moment you're in, and you make a hasty decision, and then you got to live with that outcome. Whatever it was, you're stuck with it. Do you have a chance in life to live it back down, to change it, to correct it? Sometimes. Sometimes you don't. You know, I was a paramedic for a long time. I've seen people drink and drive and they just go to jail, and I've seen people drink and drive and they don't make it out of the car. I've seen people drive and make it home. That you don't know. You're gambling at that point. So effective decision making, good decision making, is really hard for people to do because we all get put in moments where there's many ways out of it, right? But there's only one really right way out of it. I think we both scathed decisions that we've made in moments that we were in. I know I have, and I know my kids do it, and I know everybody does it. And you pray the blood of Jesus over them, and you hope that they have protection. But at the end of the day, if we don't teach that as adults, right? If we don't get back to teaching more morals and ethics and values to where I think we're not doing that as well these days, then the world's going to continue to head where it's going. Now, biblically, it's heading right where it's supposed to, unfortunately. But I don't want to sit here and believe that if the Lord comes back tomorrow, I'm good. I'm ready. I don't want him to. I want to see my kids grow up. I still want some life. But if he decides to come back, I'm not worried about if I'm going in the first trip or the second trip. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to know that when I do leave this world, that my kids are prepared to make good decisions, to be able to handle this world, to be able to turn the other cheek, to be able to walk away from things. Sometimes silence is golden, right? Sometimes it's better to say nothing. That was my message to my middle son today. Hey, everything doesn't need a response. Let God handle it.
Yeah. And when we talk about
you're
this,
probably been in situations like that recently, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And when we talk about decisions, man, I think one of the messages that I've shared with teams throughout the years is everything you do in your life is a decision. You just have to be able to deal with the outcome. Well, coach, I'm required to pay my rent. No, you're not. You don't have to pay your rent. You can be
You don't
homeless.
have to pay it.
You can be homeless. Coach, I have
There's
to
some
come to workouts.
consequences.
Yeah. Coach, I have to come to workouts. Well, no, you don't, but you don't have to play. So everything is a decision, whether that be good, bad, indifferent, right? Everything in our lives is a decision, and how we prepare for those decisions is important. When we talk about the faith aspect of it, reading our Bible and being all in on Christ prepares us for those split second decisions, right? Because when we have those split second decisions in football, you revert exactly back to what you've trained yourself to do. You don't have time to think. You just have to react. right? So you go back to your training. So in life, it's the same way. When you have a situation arise and you have to make a split-second decision, you go back to your training and what you've prepared for. And now, how do we prepare for that? Well, we read the Bible, we get in our scripture, listen to our praise and worship music, we surround ourselves with good Christian men like the Armor Up Alliance. We do all of these things to help us when we get into those situations. And athletes, man, we understand, athletes and coaches understand outcomes probably better than anybody, because your results come from your daily choices, your discipline, your preparation, your workouts, your practice, your mentality, like all of that stuff. But the reality is it's the same way in life. Like the choices that we make today shape who we are tomorrow. And one bad decision can cost us, and one good decision can change our lives forever. We have to be prepared for when those situations come up, and when it's time to make that decision, we have to be prepared, because we don't always get hours or days or months or weeks to contemplate this decision. We got to make a quick decision. How have we prepared and trained for that?
Yeah, and you said something earlier about being prepared and reading the Bible and getting your scripture and getting that. And people need to understand that you prepare yourself for every situation. It may not be the proper preparation, but you are preparing yourself. If you're sitting there and you're mentally beating yourself up and you're defeating yourself, and I can't do this and I can't, you're preparing yourself. You're just preparing yourself for failure. Whereas if you go the opposite way and you get a positive mindset and you're reading your Bible, you're preparing yourself in a positive manner. So, like you just said, everything's a choice, right? I love what you just said. I have to go to workouts. No, you don't. You don't have to go, but you probably won't be in shape and you're probably not going to play. But you got a choice. That the one thing that I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier, we have free will, right? God give us free will, and you wonder why He did that sometimes. But that's the beautiful thing of it. I believe everybody has a time and place that they're going to leave this world, but I also believe that you can speed it up. I don't believe walking out in front of a bus was God's plan for you at that moment. Now, He knows what's going to happen, and if you decide to make that free will decision to do that, maybe you expedited your time here on earth. Whereas you'd have made a better decision and thought through it, maybe that's not your destiny right then. But again, young people, heck of a task you got on your hand, guys. I mean, the world's changed. The information is at your fingertips. It's not always good information. The strive to be cool and fit in drives me nuts. I was never that kid. I wasn't. Now I moved a couple times and I never really got involved in that. I was survival of the fittest, just trying to get my way and figure out what I wanted to do in my life. But trends, I didn't worry about that, man. But now it's a big thing. If it's on TikTok, you got to do it. I'm gonna get David Bennett on you for a second right here. You got to put your popsicle glove on. You got to have your eye black on. You got to have your Bruce Bolt $200 batting gloves, and you're still batting zero. What are we doing? Everything's for a click or for a like or for a follow. And we have forgotten the fact, I don't care what you got on. If you don't go on that field and produce because you're prepared to be in that moment, you wear all the $100 batting gloves you want to wear. You're just going to be sitting on the bench with $100 batting gloves. Preparation in sports is the same as preparation in life. If you don't prepare yourself to be successful and put yourself in a good position, you're not going to succeed. It's that simple. It's really that simple.
Yes.
Hard to pull off, but very simple concept.
Yes. Episode 39, man. There's a lot of different topics and titles that I kind of threw into these notes right here, but like one of the themes here that we could talk about is emotional discipline, right? Emotional discipline, staying composed under pressure, self-control. The one that I liked the most, especially with the situation that's happened and the topic, responding instead of reacting. Like, how
That's
good
big.
is that one? Like that
That's big.
that could be a whole different topic and a title in itself, but it goes with this
Yes.
theme here for episode 39. We'll jump into some scripture. I'll share my verse from Proverbs 17:27, and it says, "The one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even tempered." We got to be understanding. We got to have some knowledge. How do we get that knowledge? How do we get that understanding? Through our faith, through our preparation, through our preparing for these hard decisions, these tough conversations, right? So we have to have that restraint. We have to be even tempered and have that understanding, right? So I think that's definitely something that fits this theme, and I thought it was a perfect verse to share tonight.
Yeah, and preparing for this show, I looked up a lot of motivational leaders and public speakers and that type of thing through the years. And also I got my scripture. But knowledge is power, right? Martin Luther King said that. And it's a true statement. You prepare yourself in life with knowledge. That's how you prepare. That's your preparation. You gain knowledge, you gain experience, and look, again, I say this all the time. I'm a walking, tank of bad decisions. That's why I'm able to make better decisions now. But great verse, man. I went with James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I should have read that in my teens. Um, Very simple verse to open your ears up, hush your mouth, and don't get angry. And if you can make better decisions like that. Again, I think people confuse being calm with being soft. It doesn't mean you can't make a firm decision or have a hard consequence. It just means you're going to be able to make it with a clear head. You know, I like what Coach Wilcox said, save, not soft. And that's the same thing when we're in these leadership roles and these coaches roles and these mentor roles. I'm not always going to be protective of your feelings, but I am going to be slow to speak and slow to anger, but you're still going to get the message. I still think that some people need to receive harder messages than some. Doesn't mean I don't love you. The tone's not going to really change unless I've told you 5 times. I'm more patient. I am slow to anger, but you know, at the same time, I think there's I don't think that verse is saying let's baby you. It's saying let's slow down. Let's think about what we're going to do and let's be effective in our speech, right? So I like that one. Again, I could have used that one a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the real talk, Phillip, I got, man, first off, we say this, and I say this a lot, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, right? So a lot of people want different outcomes, but they won't change their decisions. They want to be in a better situation. They want to have a better house or a better job, or they want a better life for their family, whatever it is, right? But they won't change their decision making. They want success while they're ignoring discipline. You might want growth, but you're avoiding accountability, right? You want better results, but you keep repeating the same bad habits. But life doesn't work like that, guys. Your future is being built by what you tolerate, what you entertain, and what you consistently choose to do and choose to be, right? So the real talk is just don't expect different outcomes if you're not making different decisions.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you talk about the definition of insanity, if you're not willing to get in a situation and understand that change is needed or that another option is available, then I think you've tunnel visioned yourself into a situation where you're not going to be effective, not just as a coach or as a leader, but even in life. I said this again. I use my child as an analogy right now because he needs a lot of mentoring. in his life. But if you have adversity in your life, if you play for a bad coach and you quit, what are you going to do when you get in the real world and you have a bad boss? You're going to quit? There's always going to be adversity, always. Nobody ever plays in the perfect moment, at the perfect time, or the perfect situation of every game and every practice of their career. It does not happen. And what you think is hate is really love, because coaches have a unique situation where they have to show tough love. If you're not doing it correctly, how does he supposed to make you do it correctly? You're going to get fussed at. You're going to get your butt chewed. And if he's doing that to me, I always felt like if my coach was fussing at me, he cared about me, because he could have quit coaching me at any time, right? He could have been like, okay, this kid ain't got it. I'm done with him. We're in public high school and he's got to be on the team, but I'm done coaching him. So, that's the whole thing. But again, we've said this so many times. Sports sets you up to have a great platform to go out into life and figure it out. If you can handle hard coaching and you can handle losing and you can handle winning and you can handle having a bad game and having a good, that's all of life. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be bosses you don't like. It just goes hand in hand, man. And you guys as coaches have a very unique opportunity to not only teach plays and X's and O's, but to teach that lesson. And that's what builds character in these men that you guys are doing.
And you said it, man. Like, I tell our kids, I tell our players, I tell the parents, like, we are going to coach them hard. We're going to be on them. And I tell our guys, like, you should want to be coached hard, because if somebody's on you, they're correcting you, they're yelling at you, they're trying to fix some of your mistakes, that's because they care and they know that you have the potential in you to do better. And if we stop coaching you, that's when you should be worried. That's when you should get mad at your coaches. That's when you should get mad at your boss, whoever's evaluating you. That's when you should get mad, because that means they've given up on you. They know, oh, it's done. He's not going to fix it. He's not going to correct this mistake. And I encourage people to lead that way. Not only in sports, but as a leader, as a parent, as a husband, as a father. Like, let's be that way, because we care about other people. We care about making them better as humans, just like we care about making people better as football players. We care about making people better as humans off the field just as much. So we should still be coaching them, correcting them, helping them. And it's not being micromanagement or whatever other terms you want to use. Like, it's genuine care. Now, if you're doing it for the right reasons, it'll be felt and people will know. Now, if you're just doing it to be a butthole, then yeah, I get that. But if you're doing it for the right reasons and you've made the decisions behind it and you're pushing other people to be better, there's nothing wrong with that. And it may suck. It hurts to hear some of those things sometimes, those truths. It hurts to hear that. But when you take a second and you really take it in, especially when it comes from somebody that you have a relationship with and you know they care about you, I take it in. I'm like, man, why did he have to tell me that? Like, why did we have to hear that? And then I'm like, okay, he's trying to help me. He's trying to correct me. He's trying to help me become a better person. And so then I take it the way that it's supposed to be taken, right? And I think that's important for us to understand is, correction and conversation and constructive criticism is okay. We have to be, we've talked about self-control tonight. We've talked about emotional stress and all these different things. But if you have the self-control to listen and take those things in, you can grow and become a better person, a better player, a better employee, a better husband, a better father, whatever your life is, right? It can definitely change you for the better.
And, I was sitting here thinking as we were talking about this, there's no guarantee that if you do it the right way and that you put everything into it and you make the good decisions, that it's going to work out either. I think of a great story, and I encourage anyone listening, if you haven't seen this, go watch the movie Greater. It's about Brian Burlsworth, right? One of the greatest stories. I mean, I've sobbed at that movie, man. how this kid worked his tail off. He made good decisions. He was a faith-based guy. He wasn't supposed to be where he was, earns his way on Arkansas, gets drafted by the Colts, and then gets in a car wreck, gets killed. You know, and then we still sit here and like, but dang, he did everything that he could, and it didn't work out for him. But the moral of the story is we don't know how this is going to work out. We don't have vision to see what's in the future. But I know for a fact that if you are working towards a goal and you are doing the right thing and you are earning it, then I don't know that Brian Burlsworth would say any different about his journey. The outcome sucked, but his journey was great, man, and he earned every bit of what he got. And that in itself is the mission. You need to earn it. You need to do it the right way. You need to make the right decisions. You need to work. And if it don't work out, it don't work out. But you need to sit there and know that you did everything you could to make it work out. If there's a doubt in your mind that you didn't do enough, if there's a doubt in your mind that you're not giving enough, if there's a doubt in your mind that you're not doing everything that you can, then you can't put it on somebody else. You can't blame somebody else. You can't be a victim if you're not doing your part. And doing your part is literally sometimes just hushing and just listening and just taking that correction and taking that hard love because you don't know everything. I don't know everything. You know, I like to think I do sometimes, but I don't. There's sometimes that my wife does one up me, you know. Hope she don't watch that part.
Well,
But you know, it's just I don't know, man. I'm when we get towards the ready because I got two quotes that I want to read, but it's just sad, you know. Just I don't know, man. This is gonna sit with me for a long time, and I'm sure it's gonna sit on this community for a long time. Yeah. And we just hope that if one person, young person, watches this and you just start making better decisions, God's work is done, man.
Yeah.
You know.
That'll lead me to the locker room challenge, Phillip. And this locker room challenge is something that I've been actively doing myself on the football side. We call it self-scouting, right? So we spend so much time scouting opponents, what plays they run, what do they like to call on third down, so on and so forth. But there's times when we need to go back and self-scout. We need to look at ourselves. We need to figure out, all right, what do I like to call on second and short? What do I like to call on 3rd and 7? Right? We go through and look at all these things. What have we done well? What have we not done well for our self-scouting report? This week's locker room challenge is a self-scout. I want you guys to ask yourself what decisions you're making repeatedly. What are those decisions that you make repeatedly? You know, for me on 3rd and 7, I have a go-to play call that immediately pops in my mind when somebody says 3rd and 7. But if I do that over and over and over and over, other teams are going to catch on, and then they're gonna scout us, right? So I want you to self-scout yourself and say, what decisions am I making repeatedly, and how are they helping me? How are they hurting me? Are they moving me toward my purpose? Are they moving me toward discipline? Are they moving me toward growth? Are they hurting me? Are they setting me back? Are they taking me away from my goals? Because where you are tomorrow will be connected to the decisions that you make today. So I want everyone to take a few moments this week to self-scout the decisions that you make on a daily basis.
I like it a lot. Again, great information, great ways to look at things. I think your locker room talk is always on point though. So, but yeah, self-scouting is I mean, self-reflection, right? You know, we talk about that a lot at work. Self-orientation, is something we talk about a lot. You got to be able to find your flaws. You gotta recognize where you're weak at. We're always quick to toot our horns where we're strong at, right? You know, but can you point out your flaws and your weaknesses and in your scouting report, where do you need to get better? You know, so love it.
Well, Phillip, around the baseball world, there was some other tragedy that happened this week. I did want to shout out all
Yes.
the Braves, I say Atlanta Braves fans. Bobby Cox and Ted Turner
And
passed.
Ted Turner. Yeah.
Both
It'll,
Braves legends. I remember growing up and watching the Braves as much as we physically could. And Bobby Cox was just, he was the GOAT, man. He was awesome. And then you go back and hear all the stories of, Chipper Jones and Greg Maddux and all the guys that played for him. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, like all these guys that worked with him and played for him, talk about how great of a guy he was, and the decisions that he made were for the betterment of himself and the team. And I thought that it's been very cool to see all these different people come out and all these videos that are being shared and stories about Bobby Cox and his legacy. But I did want to mention that because there's a lot of Braves fans and former players and coaches and really the entire baseball world um, loved Bobby Cox. Like you might not have liked him when you had to coach against him or play against him, but like I mean, there was recognitions all across the league, even where the Braves weren't playing, for Coach Bobby Cox, and I thought that was special. And it showed, he had 160 something ejections in his career, but the umpires that ejected him still talk about how great of a guy he was. Like there was, how can you get ejected that many times and anger that many people to the point where they throw you out of the game, but they still like, oh, he's a good guy. Like I think that is a testament to his legacy and the way he coached and the way he worked and the decisions that he made for his team, for his entire club.
yeah, and you realize he's probably the top tier in baseball, right? Top five all time managers. Managed some great teams, but just to tell you how hard championships are to win, right? The what he won World Series,
Yeah.
I think, in his entire time, and not that he didn't have the championship teams and the caliber and the management and the knowledge to do it, but to put it all together and win those championships are very, very hard to do. And he was the pinnacle of management. I loved
14,
him. I loved him. You know,
14 consecutive division championships, that's impressive. Let's not overlook that because
that's
they won
phenomenal,
one
phenomenal.
one championship under his leadership in 95. But 14 consecutive division titles.
Oh, he
And
set the
then
bar through the
yeah.
90s.
And then you
He was the
got,
Bobby Bowden of freaking Major League Baseball. I mean, he was that guy. It went through Atlanta.
yeah.
And you kept thinking every year that they should have won 14 World Series. Well, it ain't that simple.
Baseball's a weird game, man. You
It
get hot at
is
the right times or you have a little
correct.
slump at the wrong time and man, it can happen. But and then I've listened to so many players and videos and documentaries this week because I was such a big fan that there's a countless guys and coaches that are like, man, we had better teams than the 95 team. Like 98 team was really, really good. The 91 team was really good. He said we had teams that were better than the 95 team. We just came together and it all clicked at the right time. So yeah, you're right. Championships
The
are hard to
98
win.
Braves were outstanding
Yeah.
and didn't win it. And then you look at
There's a whole
to stay
song
on
about the
baseball.
98 Braves.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen did it. But you look at Mike Martin at Florida State. 20 something years, he took Florida State to the College World Series multiple times, never won it. Never won it. It's a finicky sport. And again, Bobby Cox did it the best. I mean, he did. His programs were contending for championships for 14 years straight in baseball.
Yeah. And
Hey,
then
this is what you do to
obviously,
that guy. You just
yeah,
give him a little
yeah,
tip and
yeah. You can't forget Ted Turner. I mean,
and Ted.
so
Yeah,
somebody that put the all the pieces together and then made the Braves a national team by putting them on national TV. First time that had ever been done. And that's why you have Braves fans all over the country because that's the team that everybody could see, right? That's
right,
the team that
right.
everybody could watch. And so I thought that was genius, obviously a genius move, and it paid off well for him financially and with championships. But I thought those two guys, man, Braves legends that could not go without mention tonight.
Yeah, and with the Braves, man, I gotta shout out my grandma Pee Wee. She's passed now, but she didn't miss a Braves game. Did not miss one. You go to her house, she had a little bobblehead up there, and the Braves were on TV. And I loved her to death. She had some very unique sayings, Matt. I remember I was playing ball in high school, and my brother, well, she said it's my brother first, but I was going through a bad time, and she's like, "Don't worry, baby. Even Joe Namath got in a slump." And to this day, I laugh about that. But at the time, it was like, Joe Namath was a pretty good athlete. He was quarterback for the Jets. I don't know if he played baseball or not, but maybe he did get in a slump. So I'm gonna take it, Grandma. Thank you. But she was an avid Braves fan, watched every game. I hate we never got her to the stadium and let her see it live. But yeah, man, I got my 3 Murphy jersey in there, no powder blue. I'm still a Braves fan too. Of course, everything in our house is either Sherrall Braves and then the Atlanta Braves. We try to go to a game every year. Great place to see a game if you hadn't been out there in Armorhead Land, even if you don't like the Atlanta Braves, that's a great area, great facility they got there. Lots to do around there. I suggest if you want to take in a ball game, that's an awesome place to do it at.
Yeah. Well, episode 39, Phillip, brings us near the end. In closing, I want to say a couple things, and I know you got a couple of quotes to share
Yeah,
too.
I'm gonna just do my 2 quotes in my closing.
Yeah. So for me, man, nobody changes overnight by accident. Transformation starts with decisions, right? I didn't get to this point in my life from yesterday, right? It's been over 300 days to get to this point. The decisions that I've made, and the small choices, the daily habits, the consistent discipline. Now, there have been hard days. Not going to lie to you, not going to say there haven't. But that's when I lean on people and talk to people, my wife and Phillip and Armor Up Alliance and all these different people that come into play because I've surrounded myself with positive influences. So I want you to think about that, this week, as you take in this episode. Think about where you want to be. Just for me, looking at 308 days ago, never thought I'd be sitting right here, right? Where do you want to be in 308 days? Who do you want to be in 308 days? Like, start making those daily decisions, those habits, that discipline to get to that point right now. Guys, it's not an easy road, but it's worth it. I can assure you of that. It has definitely been worth it in my life, with my family, with my leadership ability, with everything that I've been going through. It's definitely changed me for the better. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Make smart decisions. Surround yourself with good people, like we've always mentioned, and we've said it a thousand times on this show. But that's my closing for the night. And I challenge you to do that starting now. Don't expect you to be perfect tomorrow. Don't expect you to ever be perfect. Don't expect you to be changed tomorrow. But I would love to see people start making changes in their choices and their habits to become a better human being.
You said it best right there. I mean, I'm in the same boat, right? Almost 14 and a half months now. And every day is a challenge. Every day is still a choice. I have the choice if I want to go drink. That choice is still there. It's not like it came off the table. But I evaluate it and I go through my process, and the consequences for me doing that is not worth what's going to happen, right? But I want to end with 2 quotes, man. And I'm going Charlie Kirk first, and we talk about the violence and stuff that's been happening. I think he said it best: when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil, and they lose their humanity. I think we stop looking at people as humans. We don't value human life anymore. Uh, we think that it's so bad that killing someone is the answer. We don't talk. Why are we mad? What's the problem? Let's talk these differences out. Let's come to the table and figure it out instead of going to violence. Because again, growing up, yeah, we fought, we scuffled, we did whatever. We never thought about a gun, man. And now it just seems like you hear it so often and more often. And if we, And then Martin Luther King said, returning violence, I'm sorry, hate begates hate, violence begates violence, toughness begates a greater toughness. We must meet the forces of hate with the power of love. And that's, look, that sounds whatever you want it to be. And it's probably as a kid or teenager, you want to be tough and you want to show that outerness. But again, if you slap somebody, their first reaction is they want to slap you back harder. That's what he talks about. Hate begates hate, violence begates violence. Toughness, you have to get a greater toughness. But none of that works. It's just going to keep repetitive cycles, like a hamster on a wheel. The only way to defeat that is the only thing that can drive out darkness is light, right? Darkness is the absence of light. And that's it. That's beautiful to me. And it didn't used to make sense, but if we could love and respect other people for our differences, then we could come together as a humanity and probably live in a better civilized world. But we have lost the value of life and we've lost dialogue. There's a line in the sand that, let's be clear, our leadership has done that. Whatever side of the fence you're on, we've divided it down the middle. And now we agree with whatever fits our lives the best. Instead of listening to all sides, it's like, well, no, I like this idea better. I'm going over here. I think it's funny now that it's not funny, but it is kind of funny that we go to the voting booth. Nobody's voting on policy. We're voting on the lines in the sand because we're not talking. We're arguing. Even politicians have become violent to each other. And one smarts off at another one, and then one smarts. And then what does that do? It trickles down, Matt. And then we're doing it. And we're doing it over them, and we don't even know them. We're arguing over politics that we have no control over instead of sitting down and having true dialogue and understanding what you're saying and figuring it out and finding some happy ground to meet at. And again, I could go on about this forever because this drives me insane every day. It's trivial. It's unfortunate. There's so much violence in this world and so much death in this world. I just want it to stop. I don't want to bury another teenager, man.
Yep.
So sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Episode 39, here today, change tomorrow. Let's do better, guys. Let's talk. Let's discuss it. And if we have to agree to disagree and move on, that's okay.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, especially with our young people, we need to, at our age, adults in the community need to do better about informing them and discussing them, the consequences of their decisions, and being honest and open about the gun violence and the different things that are going on within our communities. We need some leaders to step up and have those tough conversations. Those conversations are not easy. They're not, and especially right now in the Chesterfield community, it's not going to be an easy conversation to have. But we need to do it so that something changes. We mentioned it before tonight that if we continue doing the same things and making the same decisions, we're going to get the same results. So let's do something different. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's be open and honest about the realities of the world and gun violence and communication and decision making. That's what I want to happen, and not just within the Chesterfield community, every community. Like, we need to do better as an American. We need to do better all the way around. And let's eliminate the red and blue line, right? Let's eliminate that, and let's just pick the line that says, be a good person, right? Be a Christian, be a believer, be a faithful follower. Like, that's the line that I choose. It has nothing to do with red or blue. It's doing the right thing, right? So that's what I want to leave you with tonight, guys. And we've had some good conversations tonight for episode 39, Here Today, Change Tomorrow. I hope that it impacts you. I hope that you share this with somebody that may need to hear this about some decision making. You know somebody in your life right now that struggles with making some tough decisions, just send them the link. If you don't want to have the conversation with them, send them the link. Encourage them to listen to us talk about it.
And look, I don't have all the answers. I don't. I do know that I've seen a mighty change in my life over the last few months that God's been dealing with me. And I'm a different person. That's a fact. You know, my chains are broke. I'm out of bondage. I'm out of that thinking that I was in. And I know that I'm not here without God. I'm not. Now, if religion ain't your thing, I get it. I'm gonna tell you about God because that's my duty. And God can deal with your heart. But even if you don't want to acknowledge religion, you can still have compassion, love, and respect for people. Those are just basic human traits, man. They're basic human traits. I want you to know God. I'm going to talk God to you. I am. Our show is about God, but it takes nothing to be kind to people. Nothing. It costs you nothing to be kind. And I think as a human race, we were supposed to be designed that way. I don't know when we became so violent. We were supposed to have that in our past. But hey, we're going to continue to pray. We're going to continue to believe that God's got this. And again, prayers for the Sherrall community, to the Sellers family. There's a lot of people hurting in this community right now. Just a lot of prayers needed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Phillip, I'll close us out in prayer for the evening. Dear Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom in the decisions that we make. Help us choose discipline over any distractions that we may have in our lives. Guide us in our conversations with others. Help us choose conversation over violence. Give us the self-control to keep our emotions in check and just speak about it, Lord. We ask that you help shape our future, shape our community through the decisions that we make today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Appreciate you, Phillip. Go
Well,
Cougars.
Go Jesus. And we're going to give a go Braves this tonight. Again,
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Coach Bird, your coaching staff, your 2026 district champs. What a way to turn that thing around and stride into the championship. Hey, keep it going. Thursday night, East Clarendon. We're playing for Lower State. So let's go.
Good luck to Coach Bird and the staff and those guys. Keep it rolling. Definitely rooting for you. But that'll close us out tonight, episode 39. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. Go Cougars.
Go Jesus.